Happy as always to have you here. We are joined as always by Greg Engert, Beer Director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a James Beard Award nominee. The group includes Evening Star Cafe and Planet Wine in the Del Rey neighborhood. Also down in Merrifield, Red Apron and the newly opened B-Side.
Yep.
Greg, it is always good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What is on tap this week?
So this, it's Halloween time, and believe it or not, it's getting harder and harder to have pumpkin ales around at this time of year. As we've talked about in the past, they're coming out earlier and earlier, and they are selling exponentially more and more every year. So you know, we associate Halloween all the way through Thanksgiving with pumpkins and the like, and sometimes you don't see them as much during those times, but lucky for us, there are some still knocking around, and some of those are the most singular of the pumpkin ale style. And this is from Avery Brewing Company, our old friends who have been making amazing hoppy beers, barrel-aged beers, and strong beers at the front of the class for each of those since 1993. They are finishing up a giant new brewery that they're building as a huge expansion. Moving in, their barrel-aged program is going to get massive. Their sour program is going to get massive, and they're going to keep making those great hoppy beers as well. So they've introduced a new annual barrel series beer this year, and it's called Pumpkin, but it's P-U-M-P and then K-Y-N, referring to Kentucky, and the fact that this pumpkin porter is aged in bourbon barrels.
Ooh.
Now, before we taste it too, it's not just barrel aged, it's not just spiced, it is. And it's not just a dark roasty porter, so spicing, you know, allspice, nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, cardamom. It's one of those classic Avery beers that just happens to be 17.22% alcohol. So, yeah.
It's no trick. It's a treat. And
so
I think
very Imperial pumpkin porter aged in bourbon barrels.
boy, it really smells nice. Hello. Wow. Wow.
It's not as boozy as it.
No, not at all. Dangerous.
Everything dangerous is right.
As you know, I'm a huge Southern Tier Pumpkin fan.
Yeah.
And I about pumpkined myself out this season.
How many bottles do you think you put away?
10.
Oh, good.
And I was in Cleveland recently.
That's more than I thought.
I was in Cleveland recently in this Giant Eagle grocery store chain. They, you know, in so many places are doing this. Whole Foods up in Tenleytown.
Yeah.
Filling growlers, and they had pumpkin, and I'm just like, I can't do it. And I keep 3 growlers at my mother-in-law's, and I just couldn't do it. Not because I don't love pumpkin, but just, I mean, I had my fill.
It's coming out earlier and earlier for many reasons. Obviously, most pumpkin ales are not made with fresh pumpkin, although some are. Like Mad Fox, one of our favorite local brewers, makes Pumpkinator every year. It comes out later because it comes out late October, November, because they use the pumpkins of the season. But yeah, the earlier they come out, I mean, if you love the beer, you love the beer, so you start drinking them earlier, and then come end of October, you might be pumpkined out. But in the meantime, at the same time, they're all flying off the shelves still. It's incredible.
And what's cool is, I mean, you get a great one like pumpkin, and then this, because they're really, would you agree, night
divergent,
and day
yeah, it's not even the
is
same thing.
I mean,
totally.
And so,
and
wow,
if we've actually
ridiculous.
done, if not last year, the year before, we did the first monster pumpkin ale aged in barrels that Avery is quite literally famous for, which is called Rumpkin. And that is their about 17-18% Imperial pumpkin ale, so not a porter, aged in Gosling's rum barrels. That one is kind of more along the lines of Pumpkin, but bigger and rum barrel aged and everything. But what's cool about this is, like, you could be those people out there, and you're all out there who hate pumpkin ales, right? This, you're gonna love this, because this is, it's just mildly spiced. It's huge bourbon, huge roasty chocolatey notes. It's even got a little bit of like a roast, almost nearly smoked note to it. It's incredible.
And if you're on a date that's not going real well, or you're drinking with someone you don't really like, you're not going to care pretty quickly.
Right, exactly.
Remember, as we always say at the end of these, drink responsibly, get home safely. Yeah, that is amazing.
It's really great.
What would you pair this with?
Well, I think as much as you're going to want to drink it now, obviously this is going to last forever. Lay it down, right? I mean, it's so big and bold. It's going to smooth out, get nutty. Any of these big Avery beers are masterful for vintage aging. but even just hold on to it for another month, because I think this would be awesome with Thanksgiving, and not just like at the end. Well, I mean, if you're with your in-laws, you might have it to start, but you know, like when you get in savory, that's the cool thing about this. Sometimes it's kind of pushing it to pair a pumpkin ale with savory, you know, with the turkey and stuff like that. It might make your turkey taste too much like pumpkin pie, but this is roasty and big and rich, so I can see this with like roast turkey, dark meat. I can see this with sweet potato. You know, like
stuffing, cranberries.
Yeah.
I mean, just take a big bite off your plate.
Cranberry sauce would just add like a fruit component to this. And a lot of times when you get beers this big, your food is seasoning the beer rather than vice versa. And then, of course, obviously, it's going to go great with pumpkin pie. You're adding chocolate to the pumpkin pie. The nuttiness that will become more apparent when you eat it with pecan pie. You know, I mean, it's just, I think it'd be cool. But I do think it's fun. Like, so, how great with stuffing would this be? You know, or even like with a leftover turkey sandwich, I can see it. You know, it's delicious.
I don't know if this would be a good idea to serve with your in-laws, because Thanksgiving tends to go downhill quickly sometimes, and this might
Listen,
just
you drink it
make
yourself.
worse.
You go up to your room and drink
you
it.
drink it yourself to tolerate
Right.
the in-laws or even your immediate family. Is this a time of year, before we go, where beers come out that are best for aging, or because I know I've laid down some Founders beers, laid down some Goose Island that all come out in about October, and then I stick them down in the basement and drink them a year later. I just drank some Founders. Is it this time of year?
You'll see that. Yeah, I think
they're the best to maybe
they
think
just come
about
out
aging?
this time because, you know, everybody still thinks seasonally. We all do, even if we live in areas that don't have seasons. You know, it's funny, like people like, you know, but it comes out. The beers get released to the United States as if everybody lives in New England, right? So in the fall, we see fall and winter. We see the strongest, the richest, the darkest, the strong ales. The winter ales are always big and dark. A lot of the barrel aged stuff comes out then, and we're talking all the way up to February. And then so I think it makes sense that they come out at that time, and that's when you see them. This strong beer just happens to come out now because it's seasonally appropriate because of the pumpkin spices too. But yes, you see very few barrel-aged Imperial stouts coming out in June, I would say. So it is cool. And then you get on a cycle when you age it, and 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, then you drink it at another seasonally appropriate winter the next time. So.
Well, I don't know what anyone thinks about my beer opinions, but I tell you, when I see that in the store, it will be going home in a bag.
Yes.
Greg, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Everyone, please always do drink responsibly, and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another Beer of the Week.